Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we have our very first look at the Tier 7 Free XP Premium ship for the French, the Gascogne. I hope that I said that correctly. It's hard to get this one wrong, I think, but I'm fairly confident it is the Gascogne. Anyway, we are going to go with, maybe it's the Gascogne, I guess would be the other way to say it. But we've got Robert Gigeard, or Robert Gigeard. We've got Andrew Cunningham and Charles Madden as our two inspirations. We are running Flammable Cannoneer, Gyrating Drill Bits, Megalomania, and Emergency Specialist. And we also have our legendary to skill the Will to Rebuild. So yeah, nice. Alright, so with that being said, let's look at what we're running on the actual ship. We've got Aiming Systems Mod 1, we've got Propulsion Mod 2, and we have Target Acquisition Mod and Main Battery Mod 3. Now what does all that mean? Well, if we go to the loadout, you can see I'm running all the boosters currently, and we are running the spotter plane rather than the fighter. We have 60,000 hit points. We have 35% torpedo damage reduction. We have 8 380mm guns, same as the Jean Bart and the Richelieu, except that this one has one turret in the front and one turret in the rear. This has both advantages and disadvantages that we'll talk about in the game. Firing range currently with this build is 19.5 kilometers. Reload speed is 23.9, so a bit slower than my Jean Bart. 180-degree turn time is under 30 seconds, not bad for a battleship. Maximum HE shell damage is 5,400 with a 36% chance to set fires. AP shell damage of 13,090, which isn't bad for 15-inch guns. It's got 16 100mm guns as secondaries, firing HE, and it also has 9 152mm guns that all reach out to 5.3, and those 152s also have HE. Okay. Maximum speed of 29.7 knots, even with our dispersion build, so not bad. Turning circle, 850 meters, not bad. It's pretty average. You know, it's not as bad as an Iowa, not as good as the Alabama. Falls right in the middle. Maneuverability, though, rudder shift time, 15.3 seconds. It's average. Detectability by sea, 14.8 kilometers, which is pretty good for a battleship. Detectability by air is 12.4. Guaranteed detectability is 2, and detectability while firing in smoke is also 14.2. This is a very good competitor to the Italian Roma that we just talked about, which was also a stealthy kind of battleship. So yeah, it's not bad. But we get a dispersion build commander. So first of all, it's fast, above average maximum movement speed, and nimble aim. The main battery traverse speed is pretty good. A battleship design developed on the basis of the very successful Richelieu class, which received improved AA capabilities and had the main turrets placed in the ship's aft and forward ends. Like her prototype, the ship boasted a high speed and very good torpedo protection, and she was designed in 1939, never built. So let's take a look at her. Now, first thing you're going to notice is that you have forward-facing secondaries. From the looks of it, those would be the triple turret 152s, I would believe. And 2 of them are in the front, which means you have 652mm secondaries looking over the front of the ship. But you only have 4 main batteries at the front and 4 main batteries at the back. 1 turret each. And so that is both a good thing and a bad thing, depending on which way you look at it. But it's a nice looking ship. I don't mind it. The permanent camo is kind of nice as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we are on Crash Zone, and we are going to spawn in the bottom, which means we need to head over towards the right side because we win our side. It's domination. Now, I will admit in this one that I did not play the objective at all. This was for a couple reasons. One, if I had played the objective, I wouldn't have lived very long at all. You'll see why when we get there. And two, sometimes I like to take ships out and actually see what they're capable of rather than trying to win a match. So keep that in mind. Now, I will say this right off the bat. I don't like the gun configuration on this ship. The good thing about the Richelieu and the Jean Bart is having all that firepower at the front means that you're constantly keeping your armor towards the enemy, and it makes it super easy to get all of your firepower on target. Now, this being a more conventional battleship design means that you still have the same protection that the Richelieu and the Jean Bart have. However, your broadside way too often, meaning you take a lot more damage than you normally would. However, one of the advantages this has is when somebody shoots at the front of your ship, they don't take out all of your firepower, they may only take out one turret, meaning you still have the rear turret to engage the enemy, even if it's not necessarily preferable. But that's not all. Now, this is literally the very first game that I played in this ship, and I'm not gonna lie, I do like the ship, because, I mean, it's a French freaking battleship. What is there not to like? The darn thing is good. But there is some significant disadvantages. And while I understand you can't go out and pick up the Jean Bart right now, the fact that you can still get the Richelieu through the tech tree, I don't know if it's really worth 750,000 XP. That'll be for you guys to decide. It's not a bad ship, don't get me wrong. I am not hating on this ship. It's actually a fairly good ship. But like I said, the good thing about the Richelieu and the Jean Bart is that you keep your guns to the front and all of your armor is there to protect you. The only real thing you have to worry about in them is fire starters. And guess what? You still have to worry about fire starters in this, except you are also broadside more often than not, meaning you take a lot more damage in every single engagement that somebody's shooting you in. Okay? So, yeah. Now, I gotta say this right off the bat. Every time I do one of these Meet the Videos, there is at least 5 people in the comments below that just go freaking crazy about how I just disrespected their favorite ship or whatever. I don't know. It's just, keep in mind that these are my opinions. That's the beauty of having opinions. Everyone's got them. Doesn't mean that you're wrong, but don't hate on me because I actually speak my mind. Okay? Now that we've got the formalities out of the way, let's get to the game. Now, obviously, their entire enemy team is heading our direction. Good news is, our team is going to push into their caps. Our destroyer is already capturing B. We've got A, and they unfortunately have C, but we will have A soon, so we're not going to have to worry too much about that. Now, you can see in this very first salvo, I took a lot of punishment. I lost a third of my hit points right there. Now, we are able to heal some of that back. And we do get 3 heals, and this is obviously not a tank build, thank God. I'm not a tank build kind of guy, okay? Obviously, the Germans, you can use the tank build. With the Hyde Commander, you get a tank dispersion build, which is nice. But, yeah, you don't... No. It's just, in most games, you're not going to get a chance to use the tankiness of your ship. Take this game in, for instance. Now, yes... Most certainly, I could have, if I was in a tank build, just sailed right out there and started getting into a fight. There are islands here to use as cover. However, as soon as you come around the corner, the entire enemy team is looking at you, and how long do you think your tank build is going to last? Odds are not long enough for you to get more than 1 heal off. Just saying. So, that's why I say tank builds aren't really that viable, especially as a solo player. Now, you get into a division, and suddenly the tank build world opens up. Because there are things that you can do with a division as a tank build that you can't do by yourself, like I am most of the time. So, you know, there are uses for tank builds. I'm not saying there isn't. So the Roma, and like I said, I don't even dislike the Roma. I actually think it's a good ship. I just wish I had a dispersion build, because most of the time I'm alone. And it just makes the ship a little bit better for me, in particular. That's it. But yeah. So, back to this game in particular, the enemy Richelieu, who is enjoying the fact that all of his firepower is directly forward, is getting ready to start engaging us and the cruisers that are near us. Now, I have a Cleveland and a Baltimore right here. And we're just playing the patience game, okay? We have 2 caps. We don't need to be in a rush. Their entire enemy team is out there. But if you wait, people will make themselves available, much like the Richelieu just did. Now, the Richelieu has lost more health than I have because I have 2 fire starters with me, potentially. Now, the New Orleans comes broadside out, or right in front of all 3 of us, and just absolutely begs for this. We get 5 over penetrations because my French magic bullets don't work as well as other people's French magic bullets. Mine overpin. Everybody else's seems to just citadel everything. But the New Orleans is coming out, and this is where he has completely lost his mind. Not only is he in a New Orleans, he is broadside on to a Baltimore, a French battleship, and a Cleveland. What did you think was going to happen? Now, we get a much better hit this time. Still 5 overpins, of course, because, I mean, he's slightly angled now, but still too much penetration. And that makes me wonder if this thing actually gets more penetration than the Richelieu and the Jean Bart. Only time will tell. Again, this is my very first game in this ship, so I really can't, you know, judge too much on that. I will say this. This ship experiences horizontal dispersion, which is the best kind of dispersion. The vertical dispersion isn't that bad most of the time. Most of the time. But it does have horizontal dispersion, which is pretty nasty. Now, the good thing about horizontal dispersion, you've heard me talk about it multiple times, is that horizontal dispersion is the best kind of dispersion to have because you can still hit the ship most of the time. And with several rounds rather than just completely missing with vertical dispersion, which, you know, like the Japanese tend to have, or the Germans. Of course, Germans just have bad dispersion in general, but I digress. Horizontal dispersion at least allows you to hit the ship with more shells than vertical dispersion. Even if you don't necessarily hit where you want to on the ship, you're still able to hit. And there we get our front turret knocked out by the Richelieu. Not preferable. But again, because we have the rear turret, we actually can still shoot. Whereas the front turret was knocked out, we still have, you know, some firepower. Now, obviously, this Richelieu just got absolutely touched because he's broadside on in front of my teammate that's over there to my left. I've got 3 battleships and a cruiser over there. So this guy's in a bad spot, and down he goes, Cleveland finishing him off. Now, obviously, a Nagato sailing broadside on to any battleship ever is just playing with fire. And he finally gets his just reward with 2 citadels and 30,000 damage from 1 gun. Yeah, that was pretty disgusting. But, I mean, if you sail broadside in front of battleships long enough and you're in another battleship, you're not likely to be overpinned, is all I'm saying. Now, enemy Kutuzov out there is running to try to get to the edge of the map. He's got an island out there for cover. This is not what we want to see. So we're going to have to push out on them. Now, obviously, if you look at the map, the enemy destroyer's last known was in C. Our guy is in C with the enemy Iowa currently engaged in a little kerfuffle. And we are going to push out. There's 1 Kutuzov and 1 Mogami on this side of the map. And the battleship that was over here is now running away, which was, I believe, an Odin. Now, that battleship is running away to do the right thing, actually, which is crazy to think about. Because when you think of a battleship running away, it doesn't generally end well for his team. But in this instance, he is going to run all the way over and start capturing Bravo. And he is now in the base. That could also be the enemy Iowa that was left over there as well. There is an enemy Iowa. His last known, you can see, was right outside B. So it could be the Odin and the Iowa are jumped in the base right now. But as you can see, our guys are starting to capture C finally. And it's going to be contested by the enemy destroyer. Now, Mogami comes out and just gets away with it. Just barely gets away with it. A broadside Japanese heavy cruiser ends in death when you're broadside to any battleship, let alone a French battleship that generally just deletes you on sight. But he managed to turn out just enough to get away with it for now. And unfortunately for his team, he is just going to keep running forever. Now, here is where I get into a bit of a tizzy. Like, I didn't have my mic plugged in, obviously, but I was thinking it. And the two cruisers that are next to me, well, they are useful. They are engaging a Mogami at maximum range, and the Mogami is literally no threat to really anybody at the ranges that he's at. He can't torp anybody, and he can't actually really cause any significant damage to anybody, except me, maybe, because he can set me on fire, which the Kutuzov is already working on. Now, the one downside of French battleships is the occasional and always the worst timing in the world to just completely fail to hit a target. And you'll see that in a little bit too. Now here we got a nice shot at a Mogami mid-turn, so we try to place the shot to where he's actually going, and we get one penetration, which is unfortunate. Now I was hesitant to use my damage con here because there are two fire starters shooting at me. Okay? I don't want to just damage con. Also, Kutuzov getting very, very close to being able to torp me. However, he sets me on fire a second time. I don't have any more heals left, and our cruisers are in a position to absolutely wallop him. And so I go ahead, I overpin, I go straight through the bow of a ship. He gets lucky, I don't citadel him, and he dies anyway because of Baltimore. I think it's Baltimore, might have been Cleveland. Either way, he goes down. I wasn't paying attention. But if you've noticed, we're up to 119,000 damage done. Doesn't feel like we've done all that much, but we've had a consistent source of damage for our team. But if you've also been paying attention, B is captured, A is getting captured, and we still have yet to capture C. And this is why I was kind of getting frustrated with these cruisers. Now, I may have died to the two cruisers that were over here. But when you know that there is a destroyer nearby, and he's already launched torps at us once, you know that there's a destroyer nearby, they're contesting our guys in the cap, they've made themselves available multiple times, and you have two radar cruisers dedicated to kill other cruisers rather than just finish off the destroyer. One of them should break off. One of them, any of them, it doesn't matter. Either of those ships were fully capable of absolutely decimating any destroyer that they come up against. The Baltimore, because of its amazing HE when it decides to use it, and the Cleveland just for sheer firepower. They're both radar cruisers, so they both have the ability to just reach out and touch people. And because they're nowhere to be found, hey look, more torpedoes! And nobody had their hydro running, even though we knew the guy was over here. Luckily, we were all in position. None of us actually took any torpedoes in this fight. And then, finally, it was like they had an epiphany. And that is that the enemy destroyer was nearby. Now, we're trying to get some shots here off on the Iowa, and he's about to give us a beautiful broadside, so I go ahead and switch to my plane, make sure my plane's in the air, thinking I could get it over that mountain. I know that there's a delay when the mountain icon disappears and stuff, and I was trying to get it in the gap as the one island gets smaller and the other island gets bigger. It just didn't quite work out in my favor. Now, obviously, Benson just got obliterated, which is good. But the main thing to look at is the entire, like, all of the caps belong to the enemy. Now, they're only getting cap points for 2 of them, but they are catching up. And there's still a minute and a half to go. They're not going to catch us on points, especially if we can keep one of the bases. Now, we're just trying to get ourselves into position to actually hit something. And this Iowa is absolutely begging for it. Just begging for it. You couldn't give me a better shot at an Iowa if you wanted. And so we take it. Nice, beautiful shot. And there's that horizontal dispersion I was talking about. And perfectly placed. No citadels, unfortunately, but we hit 6 out of the 8 shells. And that's why I say that horizontal dispersion is just so much better than vertical dispersion. Because you'll still hit the ships most of the time. Whereas verticals literally just makes you hit both sides of the ship, and it's obnoxious. This time, however, that dispersion was godly in all the wrong ways. And we just completely missed him. So we hit 6 out of the 8 on the last shot and completely missed a broadside Iowa 12 kilometers on that salvo. And that was not me bad shooting. Like, I didn't change anything. It just decided it didn't want to hit him. That's all it was. And this isn't much better here we're going to get a couple hits on him. 2 ricochets and 1 actual pin. But just not enough time to get enough damage in this one. I was hoping to get about 150. Didn't quite pull it off. Odin out here, broadside on. We're going to get loaded, but unfortunately, by the time we do get loaded and pull the trigger, the game is over. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It's not a bad ship. I don't know if it's something that I would personally pick up, just due to the fact that the gun configuration isn't preferable. If you're going to have a French battleship, there are 2 of them that are perfectly capable of keeping all their guns to the front and dealing similar amounts of damage. So it's up to you guys. I just bring the videos for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.